Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the hero class that was added recently to Gems of War of the Dervish hero class. It is a rather weak hero class, however it does have two aspects that are decent about it. One is it's the best hero class in the game when synergizing with monsters, and the other is at this current moment in time it has the highest dodge chance in the game. As far as the dodge, it has a 20% on its trait, and it also has a 30% on its second to last perk. This is not additive though, it's multiplicit, so instead of giving you a 50% chance of dodging, it does have two individual instances of a 20% and 30%. Comes out to about a 44% chance to actually dodge, which is still higher because the current highest that we have is Artima at a 40%, so it is still technically slightly higher than that. Overall, higher reductions of mitigation, like something with Gurgolfa with 75% and stuff like that, is obviously better, but still, as far as skull dodge is concerned, it is technically the highest until they give a mythic like 50% or 60% or something like that in the future. Other than that, it has pretty good monster synergies, aside from it counting as a monster from Drifting Sands, which have a few monsters in it. It also has the benefit of having a trait that ends up giving 2 to all stats to every single monster on your team per extra turn, which is obviously quite a bit of stats that could potentially be earned. The biggest thing that is mainly holding this hero class back from being above average is mainly the fact that there is currently no monster that gives half mana start to all monsters. If that was to exist, this would become a really viable hero class, but unfortunately it doesn't exist, and it doesn't seem like it's coming anytime soon, so as it currently stands, this hero class isn't really going to be too viable for much. As far as its tree, it does have 2 decent trees. Cunning and Storm's Wind is extremely underwhelming, so much so that you basically don't really use any perks on it for the most part. You pretty much just go into Hunter's Mark, so you can gain 2 times skull damage. That counts for explosion too. Either whichever weapon you're currently using, missile, dagger, or mace. You either go extra gold or a little bit of extra magic to your yellow. You'd either go for the bandits, a little bit of summon, or you simply go for a brown storm. On the next, you can go for whichever troops that you need the bonus for, which more often than not, since you won't really be using goblins or giants with this kind of troop, or with this kind of hero class, you'd most likely just put it into the extra attack for yellows. Then, depending on how you're using this, you would either put it onto 30% dodge, which of course, as I mentioned, stacks with the 20% dodge, so you're not completely wasting it, so it is good to go. However, of course, the explosion tends to be better, with the 1 explosion every single time you get an extra turn. And on the final tree, it would depend on what you're running once again, though based on what you'd most likely be running it with, you'd most likely set it to elementals, gain 1 magic whenever an ally casts a spell. And that's pretty much its trees. Pretty underwhelming for the most part, and it unfortunately has nothing under any of these 3 that synergize into monsters, which makes it a little bit less viable in that regard as well. But there are a few teams that I did want to show with it, so let's get into those. So far, this is one of the better ones I've been able to craft so far out of this. Mainly, Jar of Eyes has the ability to summon monsters. Every single summon off of All-Seeing Eye Kingdom that it ends up summoning is a monster, so you would end up getting all of the perks for them. And we're basically just running Glaceon into our tank, Skyla for the Skull Storm, and having that immediate Skull Storm if we end up getting a good enough starting board to actually use it. We don't have that currently, so let's take that over for now. Grab a blue to blue, so we actually have that jar ready to go. And do we have alignment here? Yes, we do. So let's go with this. Start hitting everything down. We're actually gaining 5 attack every single time we extra turn skull. We're gaining 3 attack every single skull, as well as 2 to all stats every extra turn. And that does stack to give 5 attack to that thing every single time we get an extra turn skull. Right here, we'll get Glaceon the full mana. Should hopefully have alignment. No. So we will go get our blue storm to try to get a bit more blues on the board so we can try to get alignment off that way. And can we get it now? Still seems like we might not have it as an option. So let's take a move for now. Go for another Jar of Eyes if we truly had to, if we still have no alignment whatsoever. And apparently that appears to be the case. And if we were ever to lose Glaceon, we can constantly keep getting good All-Seeing Eye. Every single thing from All-Seeing Eye is pretty decent in first slot, as they are really good with Skull Spam. So regardless of what gets put there, we'll end up working out quite well. And with our Hunter's Mark, we can pretty much just get the rest down right now. Could have green alignment summers, and we do, then we just go right back into Glaceon alignment. And once we get this thing going, it pretty much just wipes the entire team. And just get that down, and that should wipe. And yeah, extreme overkill, and it will start our turn. And after all that, that's pretty much how that works. Just trying to get the monsters all of their extra stats off it. Of course, we did end up getting a new weapon off of this hero class. It's a rather weird weapon. It has potential, but there's not really much to use it in at the moment. It's Dancing Blades. As far as its perks, it doesn't really come with anything too good. As far as all the additional benefits that it ends up gaining. Creates a brown storm, which more often than not is not really going to be that useful since it's a single color yellow weapon. Ends up doing some damage to last slot, which is probably the most useful thing that it does of anything. Reduces the first enemy's attack by 2, useless. Poison first enemy, useless. And gain 4 life, which is also pretty useless. So the only thing that's really getting much of a benefit there is that extra 5 damage to last slot, because it ends up doing a decent amount of damage to all enemies. And the unique aspect of it that could potentially make it good in some instances, though I could barely think of any where it would be super viable, is it knocks 1 to 2 enemies from the first slot to last. This is interesting in that it's a random variable of 1 or 2. This is the only thing I believe currently in the game that has a random amount of moves that it ends up doing to the opposing team. So the enemy can't really set their team down by 1 or 2 or whatever they would normally do to try to counter out a specific move, since you don't know the exact number that's going to occur whenever the weapon casts. So yeah, it'll have that aspect to it. For the most part, you'd mostly use it with Bard if you're going to bother bringing it out like we are right now. Doesn't necessarily use the new hero class, but you basically just need that to get the half mana start and to get the extra stats. And you would just use it with other things that would end up synergizing decently from having a brown storm. So in this case, of course, we are trying to use that into a Gorgolfa once we get it to mana. I was going to have to poke a few manas. We do have that enchant on green on Bard, so we'll be able to use that to get it up. Let's see, we'll take that right there. And of course, when we do this, this will be able to get rid of his tanky hero from first slot. And also had the chance of getting rid of the Bone Dragon, but seems like now we're going to have to deal with Bone Dragon and get frozen from it. But luckily we get cleanse out of that with Gorgolfa's cleanse and just go from there. And it was Word Breaker into probably throwing the weapon again. Or we could just go for a skull at this point. Should be enough damage. And no, it's not our turn, so we can't grab that. But we'll go for another one. And nope, again, it'll take the skull, but we can just take that for now. And one more team I wanted to show with the hero class itself. And that's just using it with true damage. Of course, if you're bothering to give magic to anything, one of the better things that you want to give it to is true damage related stuff. And in this case, that's exactly what we're doing. Mountain Crusher up front is the tank, followed by Crimson Bat, Corvash, and the Weaver there. It would be slightly quicker with Crimson Bat in first slot. However, he is a pretty flimsy troop, and you'd most likely want to utilize him a little bit further back so he can keep gaining stats off the extra turns. That you can then give him all the stats, and then once your hero eventually dies, if it dies, it will then be able to use the stats. But for now, we're basically just going to be going down the true damage route of trying to poke them all with true damage and just killing them out that way. We'll get that, start getting Mountain Crusher rolling. Already at full. Let's see, do we Mountain Crusher first? I think we're actually going to Mountain Crusher first, just to get rid of this barrier there. One less thing to deal with. We'll then want to Crimson Bat or lower these things into Weaver range, which it should be due to that extra magic we got. And now we basically just Weaver to Weaver, and that should be able to kill it. We could also throw a Corvash, Crimson Bat, stuff like that in there. We'll just get our gigantic skull there off a Hunter's Mark for the extra damage, and then we can simply Weaver kill it. Yeah, of course, if you're going to give anything to magic, true damage works out really well, and you just kill out things with that. So that is pretty much everything with the new hero class. Is it really worth getting upgraded? No. If you are, probably get to level 70 because that's where it gets its final perks, and then basically never do the hero class again until it's required level 100 to get kingdoms upgraded. But yeah, it's a pretty average hero class. Don't really need to use it much. Don't really need to get the weapon. It's one of the ones that you'd probably go for among one of the last few, as it doesn't really have too many perks. Has a lot of potential for whenever a monster half mana start comes into the game, so you might want to get it upgraded eventually for that. Inevitability when we finally do get half mana monster, but until then, this hero class is nearly going to be irrelevant. Anyways, guys, I'll wrap it up for this video. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching. Goodbye, everyone.